If you shoot like a C-class shooter, if someone teaches you to shoot like a C-class shooter, you will always be a C-class shooter. Always. The only way to shoot like a GM or to be a GM is to shoot like one. Welcome to the Tom Castro Shooting Academy podcast. You have now entered the next level. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Tom Castro Next Level podcast. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe to the Tom Castro Shooting Academy page, please feel free to do it. I'm going to put this out on YouTube as I always do. Subscribe and click that follow button so you guys can get all the new updates of everything I post. And I really appreciate that. It helps me out a lot. I want to bring in our normal guest that I always bring in, Mr. Craig McElhaney. And we have so much to talk about today. We had some major matches happen since the last time I talked to you guys. So this time we're going to get into right away. We're going to jump right into it. Craig's kind of limited on his time right now. He's got to work in the morning. I'm a bum. I guess I don't work. So Craig has to get up super early. I don't have to. I've got a bunch of other stuff, little small errands to run. But Craig actually went to Puerto Rico. So since the last time we were on, guys, we talked about Craig going to Puerto Rico, and for the first time, actually, right? That was the first time you ever went to Puerto Rico.
Never been. Yep.
So how much different is Puerto Rico to where you live close to Miami?
Not much.
So it was almost like traveling back to Miami, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was funny. Some of the Puerto Rican people over there were like, "How do you like it?" I'm like, "It's real similar." It's very similar. You know,
that's funny. That's funny. Well, that's good, man. So how'd you end up doing over there?
I did well. I took second overall in PCC. I think fourth in the match. It was awesome. There's a lot to talk about with that. It was an IPSC match, but what they did was they tried to blend some IPSC stuff and USPSA. For the people who don't know about IPSC, the couple differences is you can't walk stages beforehand, stuff like that. No running out of bounds. So what they did is they allowed everybody to walk stages just like a regular USPSA match beforehand, like the day before. And then they kept some of the other rules, like no running out of bounds. Some of the magazine capacity, all the magazine capacity rules were IPSC stuff. Other than that, literally, it was not a lot of difference. Obviously, obviously there's no USPSA targets. It's all IPSC stuff. The turtles, and that was the main differences with the match. How the match was run overall was one of the best matches I've ever been to. It's probably the best range I've been to. And the people are probably the best I've shot with. It was so much fun. I mean, I'm not going to mention it rained nonstop, and we didn't get flooded out because the drainage was amazing, but it rained a ton, more than South Florida, you know, and it rained a lot, but it was still fun. And I put on Instagram and I put on Facebook, I said, if it rains like this again, I'm still going to come back. That's how much fun it was. It was great.
So I was there. Oh my gosh. I think it's probably been close to 3 years now. This will be the third year. I went about 3 years ago. I was shooting PCC at the time.
Yeah. The matches, for everybody wants to know, it's the Puerto Rican Open.
Yeah.
Sorry. Caribbean Open.
Caribbean Open. Yeah. They actually have a Puerto Rico Open. So you weren't too far off, but the one you went to was Caribbean Open. I think the one I went to was the Puerto Rican Open, if I remember correctly. So they have two main matches. It's that one in the Caribbean Open, I believe, is, if I remember correctly. It's been a while since I went, but that match was by far one of my favorite matches, other than the IPSC. And I don't mind IPSC. I really enjoy the fact that you can run out of bounds if you want to. Not that I actually do very much, but there was a couple stages that we shot this weekend at the Florida Open that I was like, I'm running out of bounds here, right? I think it was only two of them. Okay. Yeah. So it was like, I'm running out of bounds here. If I don't have that option, it kind of takes away the advantage of stage planning, right? Now everybody's going to run the same stage plan. I guess the way to look at that, though, another way to look at that is now everyone shoots the same stage plan. So now everybody, it's the best shooter that wins, right? So I guess I kind of see that advantage to where now it's not just, but stage planning to me is also part of, winning a match, right? Like I would hope. I think so.
Even it's funny, and I guess the definition of stage planning, is up for debate. Like, I think stage planning and some of the IPSC stuff is you can start right or start left or start in the middle.
Yeah.
You know
So
what I
the
mean?
way
Like,
I always define that is those are options. That's an
Yeah.
option, right? Like that, or let
And
me
that's what
rephrase
it
that.
is.
Let me rephrase that. It's not an option. It's a choice, right? Like options are, I can run this same exact stage 4 different ways. A choice is, all right, cool. I'm going to go left. I'm going to go right. That's it. That's not really, there's no options there. You're running the same exact stage plan in reverse, right? That's all you're doing.
And you can change your order of engagement on targets.
But again, that's
it's semantics.
Yeah, I would say that's more of a choice also. I mean, there's a most efficient way to shoot it. And depending on which way you go, you're going to change the way you shoot those arrays of targets because of the way you enter them. So if I was running right to left, I would probably shoot the targets from left to right because that's what I'm going to see first, depending on obviously arrays and all that. But it's not really it's not an option. It's a choice, right? Like, okay, I'm going to go left. I'm going to start on the left. I'm going to start on the right, but you're basically running the stage in reverse 90% of the times.
Correct.
Where it's different is when you have 3 different directions that you can go and still run that stage efficiently. Right. And then it's okay, which one's the best way to run it? And actually this weekend at the Florida Open, there was a ton of those types of options, and that was what made the match like really, really great.
And but we can talk about that because that was that I thought it was great. But
but before we move on, I want to make sure we go back into the Caribbean Open because it's something that it's going to be something that I hope in the future that people start to see at a match that I want to maybe do. So
the reason why, and I'm pulling up a picture and we can talk, but I want to talk first about how the match was structured, how it ran. It's similar to Aruba and all. It was cool. It actually was fun being there. Just I keep changing the subject, but I got to see all the Aruba people that I had met the year before. It was fun seeing them there, and so it was the same type of thing where they take a lot of pride in their range. They take a lot of pride in the club. They work so hard. The range staff was great. The match was run just totally professional. It was awesome. From the start to the finish, it was 20 stages, I believe. And it was perfect. I have no complaints. And then when you get done, they had this dinner. I mean, a big old gigantic pan of paella that they're cooking for you. And they've got all the people there, all the awards, and then, the award ceremony with the podium and all that. And I want to show there's the backdrop and the podium and stuff. And so to some people, that's not a big, but it was cool. Everything was a big deal. So every time, they would call someone up, people would cheer, they have a podium thing. You know what? That's cool, man. It was fun. I thought it was great. And
so we do this for one reason, right? But I know I do this for the competition.
Yes.
But yes. I would say that a small part of this sport to anybody who's competitive, and I don't care what they say, I don't care what anybody says. If you work hard at something, it's your regular job, shooting, whatever it is, you want the recognition, not like to pound your chest, but to be appreciated for the hard work that you put into this game. Right. And the one thing I've noticed about USPSA that really has always bothered me is the majority of our sport is C and B class shooters. Right. So when you give somebody an award, which sometimes they don't even get an award, because they don't have enough shooters, but you give someone an award, you literally, I remember my first nationals. By the time I was coming up to shake hands, they had already called 2 shooters behind me to get their trophy. They shuffled us in and out of off that stage so fast that I barely shook hands. I mean, they could have just thrown me the trophy off the stage.
Yeah.
By the time, because I was only a C class shooter. I'm a lowly C class shooter that no one gave a shit about. They never knew I would possibly become a GM, or they didn't care about that stuff. But the one thing that I've always wanted to do, and I got this directly from Puerto Rico. When I went to that match, they had a damn podium that you would stand on.
Yeah.
And all three shooters, the first, second, and third, would get on that podium and be recognized together. And obviously there's different levels. There was a third place was lower, second place was a little higher, and first, just like the Olympics, right?
It was cool.
It was great. You know why?
Yeah.
Because everyone stayed for the award ceremony and cheered for complete strangers. There were people in Puerto Rico I had never met before,
and they're all giving you high fives,
and they were freaking excited as hell for you. The one thing I've noticed in this sport in USPSA is that when you go up and it's your 25 friends that are cheering for you, and everyone's like, "Who the hell's this guy?" And it sucks because you put a lot of work in, even as a C-class shooter, to win a national championship. And I would love to see a mindset change to where we appreciate all shooters, not just the guy who's a professional grandmaster who's up there winning every national championship and giving the speech, right? Like, obviously he should get his praise. He's a badass, all of them. And I'm not talking about anybody specific, but
I know.
It drives me crazy when we forget what actually keeps the sport running. Right? Like, which is C and B class shooters. So I think you should listen to the really good shooters about rules and those kind of things and listen to everyone. But, you know, at the end of the day, we should definitely start making it more of.
It should be a big deal. Yeah. Right? Make a big deal.
Yes.
And you know what? I don't know what it is. I think there's a few things, not just one thing. I think that maybe people are afraid of the trophies. I don't care about the trophies. I'm doing it to win. Yeah. On the upper level, look, it is what it is. A little plaque. It's going to sit in the box. I get it, but to a small percentage of people that don't really care. Right. But there's I think a larger percentage of people that really like those plaques and trophies and stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that. And so why are we like, oh, they suck? I think we should make a bigger deal out of it. I think that we should do what Puerto Rico does and make a big deal and celebrate everybody. When a D class, when it's first, second, third D get up there, man, they should be high-fiving and cheering these folks. I mean, that's just fun. What's wrong with that? What is wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. And why don't we try doing that more? I think
it's an effort. I think it's effort, bro. I think that it's not looked as important in many ways, right? I think that's part of the issue.
It's a culture change. I think we can make it.
No. This doesn't have to do with the shooters. The shooters would absolutely enjoy that kind of a scenario, right?
You're right.
The problem is it's not looked upon like that from the people that are making the decisions, right? It's not looked upon like that. Now, I'm not saying that you have to have a podium at every damn thing, but I mean, really, you can't find 3 boxes of different heights and bring those with you with all the shit we carry around. USPSA carries all this crap, brings all this gear, grab a couple of boxes. I mean, hell, anything
with a backdrop.
Right. I mean, listen, they have a backdrop. 90% of what they already do is done. They just don't put a podium up. They don't put the 3 shooters together and take a picture of first, second, and third. Like, recognize the people that are winning. Like, again, you don't have to scream from the sky and go, oh my God. But the fact, I mean, again, in nationals also is a little bit different than your major matches that like your level 2s. They do top 25 for the trophies instead of, first, second, and third in master, that kind of stuff. And again, all that stuff is fine. I'm not trying to change the world, but if you have 3 guys at the top that placed in the top 25, first, second, and third, they should be up there together. I mean, and just, it's just kind of, not only does it help, not only does it promote the sport, as in it's more of camaraderie, because honestly, that's what this sport is. There's a shit ton of camaraderie. Yeah. And number 2, it promotes those shooters, right? It shows those top shooters and helps them in whatever their future is in the game, whether they're trying to be professional shooters, the fact is that half the people that win stuff nobody even knows who they are, right? Yeah. There's no promotion for people in this sport. And I don't understand it. That is the one thing I don't understand. You should be promoting the people that promote the sport, right? That promote the sport back. And I'm not even talking about me, but it's very rare to see the best shooters be posted and shared in these on these websites, on USPSA's Instagram page. I mean, the other day I saw a meme on Instagram from the USPSA and I'm like, what is this shit? Where's the shooters? Like, where's the best shooters in the world that are going to these matches and no one's sharing their video. I don't get it. It just,
I think you could have a full diverse group of D's all the way to GMs on the Instagram page, a full diverse group.
Yep.
If I'm a D guy, I would like to see, hey, let me look at the top guys, but that's cool. Oh, a D class shooter. No problem with that. Who cares? C, B, whatever. Have a diverse, group of people. I don't have an issue with that at all.
Yeah. I just, to me, this sport in general, I don't think you're going to intimidate people if you put GMs on the Instagram page. You're just not going to. And in my opinion, most people revere the GMs. And what I mean by that is they want to learn from them. Right. I don't mean as in like they're any better than anybody else. They want to learn from them. And the more videos you see of a better shooter is the more you learn. If a bunch of C class and D class guys are on there, you can learn a lot of stuff, but it's not the same, right? You're looking at the top echelon of shooters.
The argument can be made, well, you could just follow their page.
But most of them, but again, now you're searching. Listen, I'm going to tell you.
No, I know.
Dude, I'm so glad you said that, because I'm going to tell you, the first 2 years, I had no effing clue who JJ Racaza was. I didn't know who Max Michel was. I didn't know any of those guys until I started going up in the ranks and hearing these names that I wanted to compete against.
Seeing these guys. Yep.
I mean, think about this. How many times do you hear Max Michel's name other than because we know I talk about his videos? He doesn't post a ton of video. And if he does, unless you follow his page or know who he is, he's not posting stuff, right? He's not, he doesn't have to. He's not at that level. He's way above that level of just your average posting like I have to do, you know, to put information out there.
I would like to see, in my opinion, I'd like to see USPSA represents all facets, everybody, all skill sets. So represent all skill sets, post the GM guys, post everybody, post the C's, B, whatever. They're for all of us. So post that, And
I think that's where I think that's kind of why, like, a lot of the upper echelon shooters have really been voicing their opinion about the rule changes and all that kind of stuff. You're just, honestly, man, we're left out. I mean, we truly are left out. We're not getting any kind of representation for us. And it's crazy because I hope this doesn't come out wrong, but we spend the most amount of time and money in this sport. Right now, I'm not a professional shooter. I don't get paid to shoot. I have a real job. So I have to go bust my ass at my real job and then find time to practice and then find time to go to matches, build matches, and give back to the shooters because I always enjoy building stages. Why, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out why the hell I keep doing this because it's exhausting, but I really enjoy the faces on and the when people come up and go, bro, that stage was awesome. I'm like, it did it. I did my job, right? Like I've always liked challenging people in coaching and shooting, all of those things. So I'm talking to some of the top guys and they're just like, man, this is, it's kind of bullshit. Nobody ever asks us anything, but we're the guys that spend the most money, spend the most time, train the hardest, train the most. These guys represent the United States of America in the world team, and no one asked them, hey, you go with flashlights? You good with an 85-pound pistol? How do you guys feel about moving? Again, I don't care. And I want.
No, I know. It's not that. It's not what it is.
It's just the fact that no one asks. And I'm not thinking that I'm a top shooter. I don't think anyone's going to ask my opinion because I don't think anybody gives a shit what I think. But it's just the fact that it would be nice to know that you're listened to.
Well, when you, like, I work for a department, a public aid. I work for a fire department. You have upper echelon of management. And when you want stuff done, when you want to have, let's say, fire apparatus planned out or whatever, you have a committee. So what would be wrong, if maybe a possible solution is you have a committee made up of, some of the USPSA shooters, maybe the top echelon guys, and say, hey, you guys are the rules committee. They don't make all the decisions, but they can input, they can come up with stuff and input it and bring it up to.
It's pretty simple, dude. It's actually really simple. They don't want to hear what they have to say. At the end of the day, that's on them. There's no way. Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's kind of been proven that they don't really care what they have to say.
The way to control that, then we shouldn't be complaining because they're voted in. and
I think you're going to see I think you're going to see a big swing when those votes are coming. I think a lot of
that's
this
how you
stuff,
make your voice heard.
Well, I think you have a different level of active shooters right now. Like, and what I mean by that is the upper guys, the guys that are up top. Matt Hopkins, Mason Lane has actually been very verbal about this stuff, and which is awesome because he's one of the best shooters.
Yeah, he's very well spoken and very intelligent.
So again, you have guys that are starting to step up, right? I mean, I will absolutely be speaking with my vote. I have some issues. Yeah, I have some issues with some things that I have personally seen with some area directors, and no more. Like, if I have an opportunity to vote those people out, they're gone, because I've seen some really dirty political to save face bullshit. How about that? Yeah. And I can sniff out fake people better than anybody I know. I am very good at it because of the type of personality I have. I can smell a fake ass person right away. So, I'm not mentioning names. I'm just going to speak with my vote quietly, but there's definitely some issues there in our area directors. And again, I'm not opposed to change, but I am opposed to kind of some of the ways that things are being done behind shooters' backs. And I hope that changes. I feel like, and I haven't decided on who to vote for president. I don't even know who everybody is. I know a couple of the guys, but I will say Matt Hopkins, as of right now, I really enjoy listening to what he has to say because of how open he is about the conversation. I just feel like he's going to be open, and all the information he's putting out is open. He's one of the first guys to talk about one nationals versus two nationals or three nationals, or one big nationals kind of thing instead of multiple nationals. And, I posted something afterwards, and it was awesome because he responded. And my response to him was, man, I honestly have never had a single nationals, because when I started, they kind of started doing the multiple nationals, and then they had the 9 days of nationals, which I'm not a fan of 9 days of nationals because of how, I was there for both. I did PCC, and then I did production. That was a lot of time off work. And most people, again, I own my own business, so I kind of can get away with some of that stuff, but I don't know how anybody can do 9 days of nationals unless they're 100% committed to the sport. And most people can't break away 9 days if they want to shoot multiple divisions. Now, if you break that up and you do multiple nationals separate, it gives people time to where, okay, cool, I went back to work, got some work done, and then I came and went to the next nationals a few months later or whatever. But again, scheduling, listen, I don't envy those guys at all. I would not want the job that Jake Martins and those guys have, because no matter how you do it, somebody's not going to like it. Right? I mean, listen, they're not going to like it. We'll talk about this now. So Florida Open, just got back from the Florida Open, and Steve Zug was the range master. And for the first time, his first time. For the first time in a long time, I had someone who ran a match come to me, and multiple shooters, not just me, but multiple shooters, and ask, what did you think? Would you change anything? Did you like this? Did you not like that? What was it that you didn't like? And it's funny because I'm pretty sure the first thing out of both of our mouths was, you mean because of all the open targets? And I started laughing. I was like, how many guys do you think shot that match clean? Right? Probably not a lot. Just because they're open targets doesn't mean it's going to be easy. I posted I just made a post about it and said, just because it's 32 rounds doesn't make it less difficult.
We spoke a lot. Yeah. A long time with Zug, and it was a great match, man. Yeah. I mean, it's totally different. It was all open, no penalty targets, no hardcover, no nothing. So it was as fast as you want to go and as much penalties as you want to get.
Yeah. I mean, so a match like that is, it's almost 100% based on accuracy. Right. It really is, because with all those wide open, right. But you still have to have accuracy. If it's a wide open target and you're not hitting the majority of your shots or being alphas, then you have a flaw in your shooting. right?
You're done. Yeah.
But also on top of that, IPSC targets, all IPSC targets, all of them. So there goes 35% of that A zone, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what the number is, 35% less A zone.
There's a lot of shooting on the move in this match. There's a lot of movement.
Lots of entries as well on open
or you
targets.
Could just stand there, but it was great. And here's the thing. I heard not one complaint. I heard not one negative thing. And listen, I'm not saying I have the pulse of all the shooters that were there, but everybody that shot it sounded like they had a great time. I mean,
I heard some complaints, but that was before they shot.
about
wide open, no penalties. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to be so ridiculous. It's going to be a hoser. Yeah, no steal, no
activators.
Yep. It's going to be a hoser. And then I'm like, hey, man, how'd you do? He's like, I had a bunch of mics. So I was like, yeah, not so damn easy, is it? And that's the thing. And it's kind of,
it wasn't like you could just stand there and hose everything either.
Right.
You needed to move.
You were moving a lot. And I got to tell you, the one thing that I appreciated about this match is there was a lot of distance that was sneaky. They threw some 15, they threw some 20 yards
with the bushes
targets. Yeah.
And that's 25-yard shots where you don't think it's that far, but it's far down there.
Well, now how did we know they were 25 yards? Because I walked back there. Right? But if you didn't walk back there, it looked like a damn 15-yard target. It was very deceiving. Yeah.
Yep.
So
he did a great job. I think it was it was smart because maybe they didn't want to mess around with resetting or whatever. And I've never shot any kind of a match like this. And I thought it was great. I mean, I thought it was a lot of fun.
It helps your staff. So not having a bunch of steel and a bunch of activators and all these reset things that have to happen, it helps the staff. The staff was able to focus on scoring targets. I will say one more thing that Zug did. Now, I think if they had more ROs, I think they would have probably done this a little bit different. But I really liked this, and it was very, very cool. And this is I actually made a suggestion afterwards. Zug, which they didn't say this until I talked to Zug afterwards, was that they scored every single stage right to left.
The same way. It was
the same way, right to left, right to left.
Counterclockwise.
The one thing that I enjoyed about that was that you can't make a mistake as a paster. Nope. You shouldn't make a mistake as a paster.
You're an idiot or you did it on purpose.
Right. You shouldn't make a mistake because you already know that wherever they finish, they're coming to the back right corner.
Yeah.
It's very simple to do that. Now, is it the most efficient way to score score? Maybe not. It depends on the stage, right? So you can't do it on every stage and be efficient. If they had 3 ROs, I would say that they would have probably done it like your standard 2 guys, right to left, boom, 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 walked up the sides and pre-scored as you shot, whatever you had to do. Because one guy can always watch the shooter.
Not an issue with us. Time wasn't an issue at all.
Well, So, I mean, listen, I would say the only negative thing that I have to say about this match, I mean, there was a couple of things that I was like, they could do this better, they could do that better, but you can do that on every match, no matter how great it is. The only thing that I would say that I wish I would have been available was an all-day match. So the thing with that match was because the reset was light, right? There wasn't a lot of reset. And we actually had a lot of shooters on our squad. I think we had 8 or 9.
And there was no stage we had 8 and there was no stage malfunctions.
Right.
So it's just running.
So I would say that was the only thing. And that had nothing to do with the match. That had to do with me. No. Like I was like, let's finish. Like, let's go.
I know people are probably listening going, oh man, all paper, that's gotta suck. Well, this match was great.
Awesome.
It really was good, man.
It was awesome.
It was a good match.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I don't know what the flavor of this match will be next year. Whether he changes it. I heard some rumors that it could be IPSC style, which I don't know if I would go to that match. Not that I dislike.
It's always been IPSC targets.
I'm okay with that. Yeah, that's fine. I don't want IPSC style matches like the 3, 1, 2, 3 thing or whatever the hell that is. 3, 2, 1, whatever. I think that's what it is. 3, 2, whatever it is. But I just, that's not what I enjoy. Not that IPSC's bad. I'm not saying that, but I would prefer I prefer the bigger stages, even if they're only 24 rounds. I don't need 32 round stages to be happy. I just prefer the stages that require me to think. And what I mean by that is in like movement, figuring out the best, most efficient path to go, those kind of things. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I really like to do.
And every stage
when
was
I walk
32
stages.
rounds. I would like to get I didn't talk to JJ. I didn't talk to Max Michelle. I'd love to hear what their opinion is. I know they have a lot of experience, and see what, I think Casey Reed was there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I think he was.
So this was not a good match for production shooters. Well, let me rephrase that. I shouldn't say that. I saw one stage that I was like, ugh, that one sucks for production.
That was the
you had to start on the
shaky
table. Yeah, you had a shaker table. And there was 4 standing reloads. Now,
and let me tell you, that was one hell of a shaking table.
Yeah, it was pretty good, dude. It was pretty good. That thing was probably
very
6 by 6 feet wide.
And if you shot a dot,
5 springs.
Dot is just doing this.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was I mean, it was a good stage, but it was
it was great, man.
Yeah, I hate that. I hate that stage. I shot a mic on that stupid stage. So
I shot that one really well, but you helped me out. Like I was taking hard steps and I was going all over the place, and I just took a soft step and turned my foot, and it was good.
So the problem is on that kind of a stage, and I don't hate that stage. I was just kidding around, but I did shoot a mic on that and I suck. The problem with those stages when you walk them is you don't have a point of reference of how much you're actually moving.
You have no idea how, because you don't have a dot. You can't have it out.
You don't have a dot. You don't have the gun in your hand.
You got that stupid dot, and that thing is moving.
Right. So that's the one thing about a stage like that. When you start walking that stage, you really have to be super hyper focused that you're paying attention to the movement, because you're not going to have that very small sights or dot or whatever it is you're using. That's, you're going to visually be able to see that. So you really have to pay attention to kind of how your legs feel. Are they solid? Do they feel like your feet are going back? And you can even look down when you're walking that stage and see the table going back and forth. I mean, it was very easy.
Can you imagine that stage with no shoots and hardcover?
and that's what I mean. So that's the issue, right? Like,
there's no way, man.
So, well, no, there's a way. But
I know.
It's going to go from an 11 to 13 second stage to a 25-second stage for the best guys in the world, because
absolutely
you can't take the chances on that kind of a stage. That'll crush a match, right? It's just part of it.
So I told Zug, can you imagine putting no shoots out there?
So let's talk about this too, because this is something that since we talked about kind of getting into the scores a little bit, it was interesting that because every stage was 32 rounds, you kind of had an idea how good you were doing, even if you hadn't shot the same stage as the other guy. Mm-hmm. Right. So like my competitors, I had only shot from day 1 to day 2. We had only shot 2 stages that I shot and they shot. Right. Mm-hmm. So day 2, I had no idea what they have done to my stages, or because I hadn't shot theirs and they hadn't shot mine. So we went in it was really kind of neat, because it was really cool to look at the scores and go, okay, like he won it or he didn't win it or he got second, third, whatever it was. I was able to go in and go, okay, well, it's 160 points. This is real hard math, right? Like I need to be the fastest and get the best hits. Yeah. Right. But it's 160 points. I'm not sitting there looking and going, oh man, I'm down by, if I get this and it's only a 40-point stage. So if I make this, if I push here, it's not that big of a deal. 32 rounds, you screw up, you fall very quickly. Mm-hmm. Right. 160 points. You start dropping 30-point bombs with a mistake or a mess up. And I did that. Actually, I had a stage 4. We had this seated position where you sat on a log, and everything was, well, I shouldn't say everything, but the majority of those targets were 15 to 20 yards. Yeah. And it was in like a jungle. So you stood up, or you stood up, drew your gun, shot around some barrels, and then over some trees, around some bushes, moved over, stood next to a log, shot some open targets, but then you were shooting through some trees, shooting through some trees to finish those targets. So it was interesting because, and where I messed up was I couldn't, for whatever reason, my draw, I pulled my gun out of my holster and I was like, oh, I guess I'll pull my gun up, start aiming, and then I'll start firing. Yeah. And then I was like, 3 targets in, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, let's go, asshole. And I just started shooting. But by then I had already wasted 2 seconds and kind of gave away 30 points on that stage. So, I mean, I crushed the entire day except for that stage. So I'm like in the back of my mind after day one, I'm like, man, I'm screwed. I really bombed that stage. Like the other guys had shot that stage and they were 11, almost 12 seconds. I'm in the 14s. I had okay hits. So that's what saved me.
I could show you how to do better on that. I shot it in 12 something.
Oh man, I love these the rifle guy has no reload, just stands in the back and shoots a 16-inch barrel at 25-yard targets. Yeah. Jeez, practical shooting, not rifles. No, I don't care. I'm just kidding. I like PCC. So, but yeah, I mean, it's stages like that, when you start dropping points, you can drop 30 points like that. And then all of a sudden you're like, I don't know why I'm losing so bad.
What would you do? What would you do differently in this match? How would you shoot some things differently?
So for me, I wouldn't change anything, man. I'm telling you. I mean, I would like that stage back. But I meant to tell you, because we haven't had a chance to talk about it. I had 2 mics this weekend. All right. I know what I would like to take back, and I'm going to check it because I don't want to misquote my number because it's bad enough already. I had 9 deltas. I would fix that. That's the number one thing. I had 9 deltas and 2 mics. Dude, I would change that.
But you shot really fast. I mean, real fast.
So okay. So, I mean, I'm glad you brought that up because it doesn't matter how fast I shoot. It doesn't. I'm giving away entire targets.
Correct.
I'm going to put this out in the world because I want everyone to realize this. Every delta I shoot is an entire target to someone else.
It's a no procedural mic, basically.
It's a no procedural mic. I gave away 4 points. Okay, 3 points in open. But when you're shooting against the best shooters in the world, which I'm hoping to be there one day, okay, those guys don't shoot deltas. I mean, they just don't. You can't. I mean, you're going to have some here and there, but you just can't shoot those deltas. And the deltas.
And your mic, your one mic, that you had 2, but that one, who literally was the closest target in the whole stage.
Yes. Yes. Like so I haven't been able to review the video enough or close enough. I got to put it in my editing program so I can like zoom in and get a decent video. But I'm the more we talked about it, the more I think it's a double. But it's the best, greatest shot I've ever taken in my life. So I don't know. I'm thinking it's a mic, but
Bagley put 2. I mean, he sat there a long time. He tried to give you the hit. I mean, it is what it is. If it's a perfect double, it's a perfect double.
I'm glad you brought that up because I'm not a 2 mic. I'm not a double alpha guy. I'm not a guy who's calling, 2 perfect hits unless I felt like I did a great shot, right? If I pull off on that, I'm good with it. Like I know I did it. But that target was so close and I was so settled.
And the ring was real dark as opposed to
and that was the thing.
Rings on the other targets.
If it would have been a super light hit like the other one, I would have been cool. But that damn thing looked like I took a Sharpie and drew it in there.
But it was hard. I mean, it's hard to figure that. And he pulled out 2 freaking.
Well, listen, man, as a shooter, that's RO'd a lot. I'm calling a mic. I'm going to tell you right now. I'm calling a mic too. I was going to call a mic on myself if you wouldn't have said, you need to look at this again. It's really dark, right? It's really dark. I was going to call a mic on. I looked at it and I was like, I wouldn't give me that.
No, right? I mean,
I wouldn't have given it to me. I wouldn't have.
Tough. That's a hard shot. And
but the cool
it wasn't like it was a bad call. It was listen, he went through the whole thing. He tried and he's right, so. And
that's the cool part. Most people know him because he's RO'd a lot, but Jonathan Bagley, shout out to you, brother. The fact that you whipped out that card, put the first one on it and thought maybe it was there. Then picked up another card, put it directly over the top of the other one and kind of worked around that original one like you're supposed to, which most people don't.
It wasn't like he gave it a half-ass effort.
Nope.
He gave it
and
a good
he was
effort.
like, and the best answer I've heard the entire time was he looks at me and he goes, it's not there, bro. I don't think it's there, bro. I don't see it. And I go, good call. I was like, I don't know anything else that you would have done. Another range master, another CRO. I'm looking at the first overlay. I'm like, yeah, just call it. I'm good. Yeah. Like, I mean, what am I going to do? I would have not called it for me. So when I saw it, I was like, Dude, if he calls this, I might just tell him to give me the damn mic because you would have to have 2 overlays and have an amazing eye to even get. The only thing that was giving me the opportunity was that it was black. It was super dark, dude. I mean, you called it. It looked like it was Sharpied in, and by not pasting the target next to it, you could really see
the
it.
other RO go, hey, to hold off on that. Don't paste that. You could see. But you can't go by that. It is what it is.
Before we move on, I don't know if we've ever talked about this before. I think this is an important fact to get out to the world. Guys, anybody, ROs, especially ROs, this is really important. If you have a mic on a target and it's a questionable double, even if it's not a questionable double, do not paste the target next to it. The reason why you don't do that is so that you can go look at the hit on the other target and see if they're similar. If the target that's in question that has a mic on it and it's super dark and it has a oblong look, and you go over to another target and his other bullet is super light colored, then it might be there. So
especially if you're shot from the same exact position.
Well, it might give you the opportunity to get a second look at it, right? Or a better visual and go, okay, I need to look at that a little harder instead of just going, fuck it, it's a mic, right? And give the guy a mic. That little extra effort goes a long way with shooters, and they'll paste harder for you. They'll work harder for you. You'll have less bitchy people that come and shoot on your matches, because they know you're not trying to screw them over. Right now, most don't, but some do.
Yeah, the vast majority. I mean, good Lord, all of
Yeah, most of them are
great. Humans. Human nature. It is what it is.
Bro, this match had really, really good ROs. I mean,
they were great, man.
Listen, on both of my mics, both ROs tried to find it. Like, they looked all around. They didn't just go, Mike, see you later. They looked, and again, they did the last one was not even close. Like, it was a dead center A and nothing else. And I'm like, what the hell did I do? I don't even remember missing that. So that brought up the next topic, dude, because it's something that I just learned at practice. And I coached, I shot the Florida Open and then went in and practiced with a student. I had a student come in and I did a full day class. Well, I was at the very end of the day, I was showing him some movement stuff, right? I got into movement a lot. And we started talking about the movement, and I was talking about how you would exit on the second shot. And I really discovered where my deltas and where my mics come from when I have a close target and I'm exiting. I think this is happening on farther targets as well, but obviously not 25-yard targets. I'm not leaving on a 25.
You saw yourself doing that on stage 3 in the GoPro.
Yep.
With the GoPro,
all right,
you could see that you're pulling off.
So here it is. Why am I pulling off? It's not because I'm transitioning the gun, and I'm going to tell you why. Do you know what I'm doing when I shoot the second shot? Do you know what the first thing I do when I shoot that second shot is?
Looking somewhere else.
I look for the next target.
Yeah.
So while I'm pulling the trigger, right? Or even if I might, because again, this is all split second stuff. Like there's no way that I can tell whether I've left. There's no micro, you could micro adjust, but it's not easy to tell, right? So I've discovered what I was doing. I would look at the target. I would go 1, the red dot would hit. And as I'm pulling the trigger, I would start to look away.
Your head already. Yeah.
Well, what happens when you turn your head? What follows?
Yeah.
Your body and the gun.
And I remember I said you got away with that on that target because you're super close. It was 2 yards away, 3 yards away.
And that's where I'm getting them, right? That's where I'm making the slight mistakes. Yeah. And that's where I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to be more aware of that. And here's the thing. And this is what pisses me off that I did it. And I have been doing it. I think this was some of these deltas are coming from. I'm still moving. I don't need to look where I'm going. I've already know where I'm going. So just stay on that target until the 2's gone and then look, right? If I like in these situations, what I mean by this is I'm doing this while I'm on my exit to somewhere else. Yeah. Right.
That would cost you no time.
None.
No time.
0 time. Just because I'm just leaving my head on the target just so that the gun doesn't go with it. Right. Yeah. Just so the gun doesn't go with it. The only time I should turn my head is after the second shot goes off and the recoil's already happening. But again, easier said than done, man. This is all, these are micro management improvements.
It's the same as, look, I mean, I made lots of improvements, but now I'm to where I need to fix little things through this match.
So
And you pointed out stuff.
those little things add up to huge mistakes.
Those little things add up to me losing by 11 points.
Right.
I lose the match by 11 points.
Right.
You know?
But again, so the things that you're doing, okay, and let's get into it, because obviously we have to let everybody know what's going on. This is like we're having a conversation with ourselves that we've already had a little bit. So
yeah.
At the day one of the Florida Open, and if anybody ever videos me videoing you, I could have an entire separate YouTube page or Instagram page of me just constantly going, go, 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 go in the background, because I'm seeing things that you're not seeing, obviously, when you're shooting. But there's two things that we kind of discovered when in this match. One, we think that 20 plus years of SWAT is affecting your shooting a little bit. We're starting to think that maybe that's where some of it's coming from. And it's
over confirmation.
Well, it's not over confirmation. It's just not running into an opening as fast as possible. Well, right.
So I even throw out SWAT. Let's just say stage, what is it? 6. Let's go to 10. 10 was with the port, with the car.
Which one was you did it on? Hold on. We'll start on the first day, which was stage 3, the one where we sat on that chair. When you ran to that front port, it took you just were looking for a target, looking for a target. Yeah. No gun up. Your gun was kind of pointed down, but still at the port. But you were like, if I go too far, I'm not going to shoot. Yeah. That port was huge. It was probably 3 feet wide, right?
It was your
height. Yeah.
So leaving that and finishing that stage, it was like, that felt like crap.
So let me give you a little example of what we're talking about, guys, because you know, unless you see a video of it, it's going to be hard. So maybe I'll try to grab one of the videos from Craig and I'll add it to the podcast here for the YouTube. But the thing is going on is
it should show where I lost time, because I'm sure I'm not the only one who's an idiot. You know?
Well, you're not an idiot, dude. The problem is it doesn't show up on the score sheet. All right. These things that the grandmasters are really good at is the stuff that we do that doesn't actually show up on the score sheet. And what I mean by score sheet is you're not getting an Alpha Charlie points, right? These are time things.
No, it shows up in time.
Yeah. But, and now guess what that means? That's time is points, right? Your time is your points as well. But a lot of people don't realize the time is your points, right? I mean, obviously they know that, but they're not looking at, okay, a great example is when you go to check your scores after a match. I don't know many people, unless they bombed a stage, that change their times by a quarter of a second, half a second. They only look at the Alpha Charlie count. Oh, if I would have shot 3 more alphas here on this stage, I would have won the stage. But they're not adjusting the time that they ran it in, right? Because they're not seeing where that time is. They're only looking at the hits.
Yeah, which is crap. Like my hits, 238 Alpha, 78 Charlie, 4 Delta. That's it. But that's crap. I mean, that's good, but there's time. There's a lot of time there that in this match that's lost. Dude, now that I'm glad you brought that up. So stage number 2, there was a stage number 2 was a stage that had a shoot house where you had to go in and out and everything else. Gosh.
Craig shoots this at the very beginning, shoots it great, runs to the middle and just kind of loses his flow. He just starts I don't want to say tenses up, but he's just not shooting. He's trying to
haul ass.
No, not just haul ass, because the trigger freeze, you tensed up. Like you're trying to produce results instead of just doing what you always do and just go shoot. Right.
Yep. And then I threw a mic and had to go back and make it up and lost.
Right.
Oof.
So we went back and looked at the time. So he figured it about 2 seconds for that one position.
It was absolutely. It was 2 seconds on that. I shot at 19. I was shot at 17.
Yep. So here's a multifaceted
There's the match right
here's
there.
Here's a multifaceted answer to where Craig loses the match. Now, obviously, there's multiple things that lost the match from first to second, but there's multiple things. But this one really, really hits home. He goes back and makes up the mic. Right. So there's 2 seconds that he lost making up the mic. He runs, goes to the next position, shoots, runs around the front and shoots. Okay. We looked at the numbers. I said, take off the 2 seconds. Right. So he goes, I would have still lost by, what was it?
2 points.
2
or something like
points. No, I think it was more than that, right? I thought it was 5 or 6
If I
points.
got the hit,
if you got the hit and saved the time as a straight up run, he still loses by 2 points. That's right. I remember that. Okay. Then we go back and I say, keep the mic, take the 2 seconds off. What would you have lost by? He goes 6 points.
6 points.
Right? 6 points. But here's where the problem is, where you can't see it.
Yeah.
Not only did he go backwards, but then he had to start his momentum again. It's more than 2 seconds, and I'm going to explain why. When Craig got to his third position, he had to get into position to shoot another port. When he got to that port, because the flow wasn't there anymore, now he went searching for targets again in the port.
Yep. And that cost him time and points.
Well, now your momentum slows down, and now you start shooting shitty hits because you had to pick up the speed to make up for that stop in the middle.
Yep.
Right?
No. Yeah,
so it's not one thing that kills you. It's multiple little things that end up beating you up in time. But what happens is everybody goes and looks at those scores and they go, oh man, if I would have just had like great example. The first thing you did was go look what the score would have been if you wouldn't have had the mic. You didn't change the time yet. You just looked to see what that mic would have done for you.
I made up the mic, but it ends up costing me more in points, and I should have just, but whatever. It's just now again, and then you could say, well, we could play the what if game and the other guy could have done this and that. I get that. We're trying to fix little minute things, and then
I mean, that's the thing that's the real thing that I've discovered a lot in my students is that time is something we talk about, but it's not something that they're training. Does that make sense? They're training the shooting part. They're training putting bullets down range, but they're not looking at they're not looking at where they're truly losing their times. They always look at the time when it comes to the shooting. Oh, my splits are slow. All these things. And honestly, man, the shooting is the slowest damn part.
Yes.
It's the slowest damn
here's
part.
A good example. And something I didn't notice, like you were like, hey, why are you, I'm thinking, I'm always taught like, I can see the target. I'm gonna start addressing that target before I get to the port. And then you're like, dude, what are you doing? You got a long distance, whatever. Run a bunch of steps, break down, then shoot that thing before you get to the port. And so stage was 6. That's just watching that because I want to vomit.
6 was one of your stages where there was 3 ports in the middle. And you came off of a right entry. It was a kind of a hard lean, but not too bad because we changed directions. The right side was better.
The whole front of it was shot well. I shot that fast, shot a good hits, everything, and then. But
when you got into that port, so basically there was 3 ports that if you stopped in the middle, you would shoot all 3 of those ports that had targets hidden in them in one spot, and you could adjust just a little slight lean here and there, but it was all there. Where Craig lost majority of his time, and this was all on day 1. So this is something that he fixed on day 2.
How long was that? 1.5 seconds. I mean, that was a long time.
The problem was you left that position, and obviously I've talked to Craig about this at the match. He ran in, and instead of being aggressive and trying to get to a spot, he was slowly moving into position
and too deliberate. Yep.
Just very deliberate. There was no urgency. Okay,
way too deliberate.
Here's something that I see a lot with everyone. Okay. This just happens to be that Craig and I are such great friends that we talk about this stuff all the time when we're at matches and how to fix things. Right. So this happens with all the shooters I see. The only guys that don't really do this are the top echelon shooters.
Yeah.
If there is a 1-step or 2-step gap between positions, we're running, we're hauling, we're pushing really hard. What I see when people have a 1 or 2 space gap, they lackadaisically move over to that position. There's no urgency to go there because it's like, well, it's only 1 step. Bullshit. That one step is the match
video,
difference.
and you can post some of the screw ups so people can see and go, oh,
it's not, again, man, some of the screw ups or what you're calling screw ups are lack of awareness. It's not that you screwed up. It's that you're not aware of them. You said that to me after we talked about it, but you said that to me. You were like, dude, if you wouldn't have said that to me, I didn't even know I was doing it.
Yeah.
right?
So
And
time
you
wasters,
watch,
whatever.
well, you watch all of your videos. So here's another thing. You analyze all of your videos and you still don't see it.
Yeah.
Right? Because you don't realize that that's a point loss. That's point wasted. You know what I mean? So then we shot day 2. Okay. And I did a lot less of this. Come on, Craig, because you moved, you hauled ass. You did the non-shooting things with more effort.
Yep.
Right. When you got to the shooting part, you were the same exact shooter, still shooting accuracy, still shooting alphas. But when you got to the movement, the non-shooting part, you changed your mindset. And I don't know how many times I can say how important that is because your mindset is what dictates the way you shoot. Right. Yep. I mean, I talked a couple of my guys on my squad, not my guys, but a couple of the people that are on our squad. We talked about stage planning. And there were a couple people that ran stage plans like other grandmasters. And there was a couple guys that ran stage plans the way I ran it. And they looked at me at the end of the stage plan. They were like, damn, dude, that was so much better. I said, why was it better for you? And they were like, well, all the targets were closer. I said, all right. So there was one specific stage that I remember. Stage eight. And the grandmaster that shot it before me the day in the morning, they ran all the way back, right? They ran all the way back. And I was like, I'm not running back. I'm going to shoot some targets and back out as I'm moving. And a couple guys were like, well, dude, but you got to go back there anyway. I said, yeah, no problem. I said, but where is the slowest part of this stage? And they were like, well, the running. I said, nope, the ports. Because here's what happened. If you ran, you had 4 shots on the left-hand side. One of them was 20 yards at least. The other one was 15 yards, right? It was about 5 yards closer. Then it got to about a 10 and then a 5-yard target.
Not to mention the middle 2 targets.
Right. Well, we're getting to that. Then there was a port on the left-hand side that you shot through that had probably 12-yard targets, but they were kind of tucked in. So you had to get down low and shoot it. Then there was about, I would say probably a 4 to 5 foot distance between the ports. So it was like the middle of a wall, middle of a wall, middle of a wall. So it was a good probably 3 yards that you had to run to get into position, but it was a little bit far. I would say it was 5 yards because if you got into those ports and you just stopped in the middle, you weren't going to be able to move out. You would stop. So instead of what everybody else did, they shot the far back targets that ended up being a damn 20-yard shot in the center port. So not only are you shooting those targets from farther away, yes, 2 targets. Not only are you shooting those targets from farther away, but now I'm shooting harder targets
in a hurry, and
I can't leave out of that port like I wanted to. It's no longer a drive-by position.
Yeah. I mean, right? So the argument was there was people that made, well, you're stopping in the front when you draw. Okay. Yeah, you are stopping, but it's a 5-yard shot.
5-yard shot, which means what?
Quicker.
Why is it quicker? Because I can rip 2 splits into that target and guarantee great hits.
Yes. Or you're stopping in the middle port and taking 20-yard shots where you got a close in hose target, 2 long shots, and then another hose target. And then you're stopping on both places, but the other ones, those are harder shots.
The difference,
and there was the mics. There was plenty of mics by people.
The difference for me on that stage and the way I saw that stage compared to what I think some of I don't know how everybody else ran it. I only knew one guy before me had shot it. The big difference for me was that I could blend every position together and make it one array kind of thing, other than I had to do a reload as I was moving in. But even the running back, I had already shot 4 targets by the time the other person got to the back left corner anyway. So one of the things that
and you won that stage, didn't you?
Yeah, I won that stage overall by an entire hit factor.
Yeah,
so I was over a second faster and an entire hit factor higher. Yeah, but the big thing for me with what I'm learning is now you can't do this on every stage. And that's the problem. Sometimes you say this stuff and guys get on there and they're like, oh man, it depends on the stage. Well, obviously I would hope you know that by now. But when you run, all right, and you're not scoring points, you're losing points immediately. Like that means if I can draw and shoot something in a second, let's just say it took me a second to shoot a target, right? But it took you 3 seconds to run back or 2 seconds to run back. even if it was 1 second more to run back compared to me pulling the trigger on the draw, I'm probably going to beat you because I've scored points sooner, which usually equates to finishing sooner, right? The job that you have in this sport is to shoot sooner. That's the number one thing I've changed mindset wise this year. Well, I guess last year I learned it after nationals, was to shoot sooner. I mean, some of the videos and drills that I've created in the Insider Circle have all been about shooting sooner. I talk about how to enter, how to exit, all these different things, and it's all about shooting sooner.
So before you go further, that's one of the reasons with the port thing. I'm thinking, well, I could shoot the target now. I could shoot it now, shoot it now. But you can't shoot anything else, right? Because you got to get into that port. Yeah. So I think you're 100% right. But if you've got to cover distance, like what you were telling me, hey, cover distance, and you could still shoot that target soon, and you can't. And then when you're set up to go in the port, you're already done with that target. So that, to me, that was and I lost major seconds with that because I'm thinking, oh, shoot sooner, but it's not.
So here's what you did differently on that stage, and that was the only stage. And we talked about this. You said, man, I moved through that whole port. I ran through that. I felt the movement. You did feel the movement, but all you felt was your upper body moving. Your feet.
Yeah,
were planted.
No. Yeah, I was talking about stage 10 or whatever.
All right. Okay.
But that one, because those are stop positions for me.
Let's go back to stage 8 because we talked about this that night, actually, afterwards. We talked about it at the award ceremony when we were sitting around talking or whatever. That stage, you did not move through any of the ports, but you thought you did because you were, when you got in there, you went pop, 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 and kind of got out quick, but you still planted your feet. And one of the things that I noticed, and this is kind of something that people don't really pay attention to, and I don't think they watch when they're paying attention to these videos, they're just kind of listening to the gun and they're not really paying attention to where I'm shooting things. So that specific stage, that port was 3 feet wide, you think? I mean, it was a really long port. Wide. So when I entered that position to shoot it, I was able to shoot that target before I could even see the left target. So that was the key. Now that turns that position into a drive-by instead of a stop position. Then when I got to the third port, it became one target was a drive-by. After the reload, I went pop, pop. I had to settle, but I shifted my body to my right on the second target, shot that, and that put me in position for the far right outside set of targets. That's the thing that I don't think people notice is if you can shoot a target before you get into a position, it now opens up more movement opportunities throughout that position, through the ports or whatever it is, right?
Yep. And you told me like, hey, push hard. To me, my body position was out. I did not want to be squared up to those targets with a PCC. I needed to have my hips facing laterally and taking it like that. That's how I feel. But it's wrong. You told me like, hey, push off hard, off hard. And I did that. But the other thing is we talked about, if you didn't back out of those 2 targets on the corner, you were out of position for all of the other ports. Yeah.
So I want to go into that real quick because I just went through this yesterday with my student. Big shout out to Nick, bro. You did awesome. And I mean, that guy's awesome. He was like a sponge. And I know towards the end, he was getting tired because I was running him. So we had that stage specifically is a great example of what's wrong with PCC shooters. Most of them and pistol guys. You have this thing called a triangle, right? I call it a triangle. I know I've heard other people use it, but I don't think I invented it. I don't think there's anything I'm going to invent in this sport because of how many people have done it before me. But there's a thing. Well, I use it is my triangle. It's one of the things I teach. You have a triangle when you're drawing or when you hold your gun, whether it's a rifle or whether it's a pistol, you have a triangle. The key to shooting accurately and fast, consistently, I'm going to say that again. The key to consistently shoot fast and accurate is to stay square to the target. If you do not enter square to a target, you will shoot a shit ton of deltas and mics. It's the most important thing I've learned this year. And that,
especially with a PTC, because it's really easy to pull off.
Way more important with a PCC, because you don't, with the thing with the pistol, if your grip is proper, it's very difficult to break that triangle unless you start leaning, right? But the pistol requires you to really turn your whole body. Okay. So that's one of the reasons why it's a little bit easier to remember, because you have to work from your hips, because if you move your arms, you now broke your triangle. Your triangle now gets real long on one side and real short on another. Okay. The thing with the PCC, you do not have to stay square to hit targets. It works, right? Because you can cheat the shit out of it and have one arm real short and one arm real long. And right. Exactly. But what happens is, not staying square to targets, you lose your accuracy at speed. You start to pull off targets. You start to turn your head to look at the next target and the gun's still on. I don't know how many times I saw PCC guys over the weekend and all these matches we go to where they go whap, whap, and they, on their second shot, they're not even looking at the damn target. And I'm like, all right, you're getting away with it here and there, but it's going to kill you. I
was so worried about pulling off a Delta or a mic on those that I shot it crappy. And I really would love to shoot that array again, those 3 ports, because I was like, okay, take this. And as you're going, it's so easy to pull off that target always. And that's almost always where my mics are at.
That's where the footwork comes in, bro. It's where your hips turn. Your hips have to turn. If your target makes you break your triangle, you should have turned your hips. If you have to break that triangle and your gun's in front of your left shoulder and you're not squared up, I mean, that barrel should almost always be in front of your nose. You know, you're going to have a little bit here and there, especially with the rifle, where you can kind of just move your arms and you're not breaking too much. But if you start having the front of that barrel on the left side of your shoulder or the right side of your shoulder, you're probably not holding that triangle tight. Right? You're not holding that. You're not staying square to the target. And it's very difficult to get people to understand, especially with PCC, to choke up. You don't want a long stretched out ass arm. You don't have any control over the rifle.
You're moving this way and transitioning across. You will throw Delta mics all day long.
You can use your support hand that holds the rifle as a brake, right? If you're, I'll give you a great example. If my arm is clenched and I'm sitting here like this, I'm going to be able to stop it. But if my arm's long like this, I don't have as much control over that little extra push that's going to do with my hand, right? But if it's tight, I have way more muscle and control of it compared to when my arm's stretched all the way out and trying to hold, stop something.
It's funny how when you get I think Ian and Joe Draghi, when they started shooting PCC, they're like, this dot's all over the place. I'm like, you have 3 points of contact. Now, this is actually harder to shoot this on the move than it is a pistol, my friend. Yeah. Oh, it's just a rifle. Now, okay.
It's more difficult if you don't use proper technique, right? I mean, honestly, the technique that I teach with a rifle and with the PCC and pistol are the same. They're exactly the same. It's just you hold the gun a little bit different. That's all it is. You're just holding it differently, but it's the same exact technique. There's no difference. Your footwork is the key to shooting on the move consistently. I cannot say that word enough. It's something that I have worked on so hard in the last 2 years, and it's finally paying off. Like, I'm starting to really see that next level of consistency, right? Like this match that we shot at the Florida Open, I have never shot as consistent as I did. And I think there's a couple things that are going on. And I talked about this in one of my Instagram posts. I just kind of typed it in there. I didn't really have a video about it, but I shot visually instead of instinctually at this match. Now there's no steel, but I shot visually. So in other words, what I mean by that is I saw every shot. I really focused on accuracy, looking in that A zone, not just the A zone, but a spot in the A zone.
Yep.
And we talked about that. We actually talked about that, man, how when I walked the stages, I looked at you and I said, whoa, dude, I just discovered something. I was like, I just had a breakthrough. Like, I was like, holy shit, dude, I'm seeing the A zone, right? And then we talked about it, and you were like, well, don't you usually see the A zone? I go, yeah. The problem is I see the whole A zone.
Yeah, spot. That's one thing I've learned. And once you do that, dude, everything becomes so much bigger. Now the A zone becomes this big. And so
I actually have a a great idea on how to make that video. I'm making a video about it. I'll tell you later. I'm not giving my secret away, baby, but I have a way of talking. I think I can physically show that through some camera tricks I got, baby. So I'm excited about that video because I was talking to one of my buddies, Sam Caldwell, who moved away, you son of a bitch, to North Carolina. And he just doesn't shoot with me anymore. We were talking about that. He goes, you got to make a video about it, dude. He's like, and I was like, man, how do I do that? Like, how do I show you what my eye sees? I'm like, oh, I got it. I think I got an answer. So I'm super excited to try it. I think it's going to work out great, but it's just, it's one of those things where, before I get off this topic, the other breakthrough I had, and I posted the same thing. I talked about those two breakthroughs. The other breakthrough I had was, man, did I focus on my footwork in this match during my walkthrough, not during shooting, right? We talked about that. And do you remember how many times I walked some of these stages that really required precision? Like stage 8 is a great example. How many times did I walk that damn stage, dude? Like, it was crazy. I was like, and I remember you like, all right, man, we got it. Like,
well, I was like, all right, I'm getting tired. Like, all right, I'm going to stop for a minute because we're like, I've walked it a ton. But it was all positioning.
It's all positioning.
100% positioning.
That's all it was. It wasn't about where's the target. Like, how do I shoot the targets? It was, how do I turn this position that's technically 3 positions into 1, right? Yeah. How do I turn 3 positions into 1? And it all started with the second position. After I shot the first position, it all started with the second position. And I'll make sure I post up the video in this, guys, for I'll overlay this on the YouTube video. But when you entered that second position, if you did not back up and you just ran to a spot and stopped,
out
next
of position, 100%.
3 positions were all stopped, done. Go nowhere positions.
Yeah, you were done.
You couldn't get your momentum on that stage. It was too many ports. There was too many stop positions that it was designed for. I just learned how to eliminate them. Right. The way I stage planned that was I eliminated all stopping except for the very last position. Even the first position, we were already there. So I don't even call that a stop position because I left on my second and third or my third and fourth target anyway.
Yep. Right.
So I backed out on my last target of the front. Then I shot the 2 to the left the entire time, backing out, gaining distance. Again, this stage was awesome. I am going to break this stage down because I've got to break this stage down. There were so many breakthroughs for me just on that stage. Do you remember when I walked up to you before I shot it and I said, Craig, if I don't transition or back up while I'm transitioning, I'm going to fuck up these 2 left targets. Do you remember that? And what happened when you backed up on the transition instead of getting on target and then backing up? How much of a difference did that make?
I was already moving. Yeah, it was good. Yeah.
So now the accuracy was there because you're not trying to start. You're not trying to start leaving. So if you're already moving backwards, your footwork's already set up.
Yeah.
Now it's just a pop, instead of trying to get on target and start moving. Because as soon as you get on target and start
about the first 4 from the first
the
spot,
first 4, the 2 on the front left. As soon as you are on target and you decide to take this giant ass step backwards, guess what your gun does? Woo, flies around. It's everywhere, right? So when I changed that, I obviously I told you, and you were like, "Yeah, dude, let's do that. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make sure I remember."
No, that was a great idea because it moved. And I wouldn't have done it. I would have started moving when I got to that target. Right. It would have thrown off the hits.
Yeah. So, I mean, right there, you start adding, and that's the crazy part.
It adds up.
But that's the thing. It's exactly what I was going to say. How do you explain to someone that doesn't think the way I think? How do you get that across that I won by over a second on that stage because of 4 things, not one thing. It's not one thing normally, right? And especially when you get up in higher levels, these guys are good. They're not making mistakes. They're just as good, if not better than I am, right? I'm fighting to beat them, not the other way around. I'm trying to beat guys that are in top 10 every year.
What was your time on that?
13 something.
Let's see.
It was stage 8, right?
Yeah.
Stage 8. It was 13:28 at 11.21 hit factor.
Yep. That's awesome, dude. I So I shot it in over 1.2. We had 1.2 seconds slower than you. And I had worse hits. I had 2 deltas. I had 4 in the whole match. Two of them were there.
You were how much slower?
1.2 seconds.
So 1.2 seconds, and I had a reload.
Yeah.
Right.
Man,
so that's the thing. But
if you watch the video, you'll see like it's way obvious where time was lost, way up.
But again, dude, this is how you learn though, right? Like once now you'll be very aware that, and you were on day 2 for sure. You were much more aware. The problem is in stages like that, if you don't spend the time walking those before you get there, you're not going to execute to that kind of level.
And that was a good stage. That was a tough stage to start on, but it was a good stage to start on because we had a lot of time. We could devote a lot of time to walking that, and that stage was important.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I shot pissed off. I mean, I wasn't mad at anybody, but I wanted that win. I wanted that match so bad. I think about it now afterwards. I guess I was really, really pissed off about the Florida State match because I did almost enough to win that. And some of the guys that were there, I was competing against at this match. I wanted this match, not just for, I don't want to say revenge because it's not personal, but for redemption, I guess. And
you want to do better. I mean, you want to shoot.
So dude, I got to tell you, man,
potential.
Like one of my favorite people in this sport so far that I just started like kind of talking to a little bit was Chris Tilley. Dude, that guy's awesome. Like his whole crew, Aaron Edens, all those dudes that we got to meet at this match and actually hang out with, and not just hey, what's up, bro? And good luck. And like to sit down and talk to those guys afterwards. And it was so much fun. And to realize that they're just regular guys. They're just regular dudes, man. And we sat there and shot the shit for a couple hours after the match, and we just laughed and joked. And I was breaking Tilly's chops and shit for some of the stuff.
I feel bad for him, man. He had
we're not going to talk about it. We'll just keep that quiet. I don't know if he wants that out there, but he had some stuff happen at the match that kind of screwed him up. And it's funny because I don't know how many other people do this, but I went up to him. I was like, dude, I didn't want to win like this. I said, I'm pissed. Like, this sucks. This is horse shit. And he was just like, it's all good, man. It's part of the game. And I was like, I don't care. I was like, I don't care about that. I want to compete against you. You're one of the best shooters, right? Like you're the best shooter. You're one of the best shooters in the world, man. You're top 10 every year. You're the guy I have to start beating, or at least competing against, not even just beating, just being there with, right? Like just the fact that I want to stay at that top level or get to that top level. So I compare myself to those guys after these matches. Whether you win or lose, you can learn from what they did points wise, or how was his hits? How was this? How was that? There's a lot of different things, the time. So it was really awesome because there was some back and forth there on our stages, but it was cool to kind of sit down and talk to him and kind of have some conversations with those guys. Aaron Edens, dude, Aaron's awesome. Love that guy. I really like him. He, this is the first time I actually sat down and talked to him. And we were talking about his scope with the, with his Phillips
scope
drivers. His Phillips.
No, man, your red dot's loose, man.
I mean, dude, breaking his chops for the entire match because he used Phillips head screws on his sights.
Chris Tilley, he's one of the nicest guys I met. I was telling you, my first match I ever shot, 2019, was the Miami Open. And Chris Tilley was there, and I was a nobody. I was a B-class PCG, and he was just super nice, man. He's just super nice. And I was like, man, this guy's such a nice dude. I'm a nobody.
I think there's a lot more of those guys in this sport that don't.
Sure.
I just
Max
think there's
Michelle
a lot
was there
more
too, and
guys.
Max Michelle was really awesome. I asked him, hey, how do I shoot this? And he goes, oh, come here. Hey, do this, do that, do that. Look at that nail right there. Stop right there. And I was like, oh. So I mean, there's a lot of good.
So dude, I got to tell you, I'm glad you brought him up. And I'll bring up JJ too. What the hell? Like, what the hell? Those guys are amazing. Like they shot carry optics.
And they don't miss.
And damn near won the match. Dude, they are amazing. Amazing. Like it's, you know what, dude? There's just different levels of shooting.
Yeah, dude.
Right. So I'm
it's hard to understand that until you shoot the whole thing and you look at, like, I'm shooting the damn PCC and these guys are shooting carry optics and they're just whipping my ass. And they're awesome. It's like, dude, they don't miss. Look at their hits. It's just their speed and
I think the thing is though, is and JJ said this before in one of his podcasts, one of his live videos or whatever is the amount of experience that they have. There's not a match that someone can put up that those guys are like, this is hard. There isn't, right? There isn't. It's just, they've seen so much, right? And the thing about those two guys, especially, is the consistency that they shoot. Like, seriously, like Max shot probably the worst nationals I've seen him shoot, like score wise, right? He was still top 5. Like, and I mean, it's like, geez, man,
it doesn't matter. I mean, to him, I'm sure it doesn't matter. He wants to win.
Oh no,
we all do.
And it never is going to matter. Like, you know, I shot, like you told me, like, man, you shot that match really good at Florida State. And I was like, no, I lost. And then it was like, you come up to me and you go, bro, you shot this match amazing. You shot Florida State. I was like, bro, I had 2 mics. It's just that mindset. I don't think if you're a true competitor that you're ever going to sit back and really kind of enjoy it.
You need to. I was going to tell you, you need to enjoy the wins.
Yeah. I got to tell you, this time, this match,
what you can fix.
Yeah. This match, I enjoyed the win. I enjoyed this win a little bit. I gave myself a little bit of time to go. You did it, dude. Like you shot well this time. You did really well. There were some mistakes here and there, but I shot a pretty good. I will tell you, I think the proudest thing about me, the thing I'm proudest of at this match was that I didn't have any bombs. I didn't have any stages that I blew it. I didn't have any stages where I lost that step. I stayed aggressive the whole time. I shot like myself. I remembered the fundamentals the entire time. I had some things that I definitely I'll remember, like some footwork stuff where I didn't enter with the right foot. I kind of didn't enter the way I wanted to, but again, that cost me time, but I won the stage. So it's like, dude, you won the stage. Like, shut up. Right. Like you did good, you dumbass. And it's just hard, man, because you're always looking for those micro, especially at my level. I'm looking for those micro things. I'm not looking for big.
You mean our level, right? Our level.
Yeah, your level. Yes, that's why we just had a 20-minute conversation wasted on how long it took you to shoot 3 ports, man. Jesus. No, I mean seriously, man. It's just there's always something to get better at in this sport. Yeah. I brought that up in my lesson yesterday. The guy Nick looks at me and he's like, "Damn, dude." I go, "That's why I like this sport, bro. You're never good, right? You can always get better." Because he did really well. And then he came back and we tweaked something. And he was like, "Dude, that's a second faster." And I go, "I know. And you thought you did good, right?" Like, there's always something.
What would be cool is if you can go back a week later, fix the stuff and try to shoot everything again,
Yeah. But I mean, that's the thing. It's funny because there's, like you said, like, what would I change? It's not much. Like, because here's the problem. If I was to go back and I was to fix those little things, would I still shoot well? I'd be thinking about those things instead of just shooting, right? It gets to a point where you have to not think, right? And you got to just go out and execute and stop thinking. Now, the time to think about it is after the match, right? Like breaking those videos down, breaking that footwork down, checking out those hits, looking at that time. Those are things after, but it's very difficult to do that during the match. So I didn't even know I made some of those footwork mistakes. Let me rephrase that. I 100% knew I did that during the run. Like, I'm so laser focused on that. I was like, damn it. Like, damn it. That just cost me time. But if I let that affect me during the match or stage, it's over. I've already lost.
Sport is such a, it's a stacking of minutia on top of minutia on top of minutia to produce an entire stage and an entire match. And we want it to be perfect, and it's just not. But we're looking at stages. Like, not the car stage was that stage. Which one was the stage after that? Stage 10.
Stage 10. Right.
So a good example is the last array that you have the port on the left.
Yeah.
And then we're like, hey, shoot the third target over, and then start walking over this way and open up. I mean, stupid little minutia, but if you go straight in, it doesn't open up. So it's all those are tenths. 10. Those things add up, man.
So I'm glad you said that, because they're not just tense. And I'm going to tell you why. And this is we'll go back to that stage real quick. And this is what I was getting at earlier. And I don't know if I actually got my whole point out. Stage number 2, the one with the shoot house.
Okay.
When you missed that mic, you went backwards and then had to come forward. Let's just say you don't make up that mic. Well, now the next position is going to be faster, but
I can address it quicker. Yeah.
But you wouldn't get that in your time. You wouldn't be able to see that. Does that make sense? Like, you're not going to be able to go in there and go, okay, I would have been half a second faster here if I wouldn't have stopped. Those are things that you really don't know. You're just guessing. I was
addressing and then I was out of position.
Right. But you're guessing at those things. So now if you have to stop and start again, even though it said 2 seconds on it, it's probably more like 2.5 because it affected the next position, the next part of the flow of that stage. And it was interesting to go back and kind of change those scores. And I think you changed it to where if you leave the mic and you keep just those 2 seconds, we're not even talking about the left position, but if you change that to a mic and you lose by 6, and then if you go back and get the mic and you take away the 2 seconds, you still lose by 2. What the hell's the difference? There's nothing. I think it was 4 points, bro. I'm telling you. It was 4 points. Yeah, it was 4 points that you would have lost by. And then it was 6 points because you lost technically by 11. It was 6 points if you would have skipped the mic, and then 4 points if you wouldn't have missed the mic, if you wouldn't have missed the damn thing in the first place with the 2 seconds, right? I was just like,
and we're talking about winning first place master. Guys are like, oh my God, I would love that. Listen, it's not.
Yeah. Now that would have been high overall though, right?
No.
Oh, that would have been just master?
Just master.
Okay. Yeah, so how much time were you behind the guy who won the match?
I don't remember, but I tell you, he shot really well. And there was some stages I'm like, man, where did he get those seconds from? It must have been a different stage plan. I don't know what, but damn, he shot good. I don't know. I have to look at and see how far away was from him.
Right.
And I can add, I can look at those seconds in that one stage, this and that. And I'm sure everybody else can do the same thing, but you got to see where you're losing time.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, I can see it in your videos, dude. Like, it's not hard to find it. It's just,
no.
You can find it in the videos, but you have to know what to look for.
Yeah.
That's really important, dude. You got to find.
And you were a huge help, going, no, I keep coming back to stage 9. You're like the car stage. And right when you shoot that array, you're like, dude, you got to push hard. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Cause there was that specific stage, there was a port in the front, but we started kind of in the middle of the stage, shot some stuff to the left, and then you had to run forward to a port. And that port had a target you could see all the way from the back of the stage, but that was it. Everything else was tucked to the left or to the right that you couldn't see it. So Craig originally walked the stage and turned and shot from the original first position and shot it with an extra 5 to 7 yards farther away. So that means he would have just slowly creeped into that port.
Yeah, on the move, but not on the run.
Right, not on the run, but on the move, right? Just creeping forward like he's clearing a building, right? And then he would have shot the rest of the stuff. So I told him, I said, no, like during the watch, no. Look at how you just shot that. He goes, what do you mean? I'm shooting that target. I go, yeah, from 7 yards farther than you need to be. And he goes, oh shit, you're right. I would have just literally walked there.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, run all the way there, get about 2 steps away or 3 steps away, start to set your, like roll in and then pop. And then as soon as you get to that port, you should be ready, be aiming at the next target. You shouldn't even see that other target anymore. You're aiming at the inside target that you need to get to. And he crushed it. And then the other thing that he did on that stage that really made a huge difference, which I keep yelling at you about, is he ran. Like, he hauled ass out of that position as hard as he could to the next position. What I see a lot of, and I've talked about this before, the effort, man. Guys girls, boys, everybody, they don't put the effort into the non-shooting things. They only think about shooting fast, and the shooting fast comes from movement, period, and efficiency.
If you throw out shooting fast, if you just move, if you work on movement everything, man, that the shooting's going to be fast.
So my lesson yesterday, I always do this drill, especially with first time lesson guys I meet. I do a full day class at the end. I always do this drill. It's called the first step. And that drill is all about shooting and moving. And I teach people how to shoot and move, not just shoot, but the timing of shooting and moving and how to be able to do that without ever thinking about it again. Now, obviously you suck really bad when you first do it. It's part of it. That's kind of the whole point. It just shows you how you really suck at shooting and moving. It teaches you the techniques and things that you have to do. I teach you how to get your gun to sit completely flat, not moving, and when to pull the trigger. It teaches you visual patience. There's a lot of things in that drill that I really love. But the biggest thing about that drill is I don't know how many times I've done this, dude, no matter how good I've got. If I stand there, it's 5 pieces of steel at 10 yards.
That's the steel. And you said that's where it doesn't fall. You just shoot it.
It's where I just shoot it. If I stand and shoot 4 pieces of steel, then run 5 yards to the right or left, whatever your hand you are, and then shoot the last piece of steel. Okay. Get a time. Then I walk. I don't run. I legitimately walk like regular normal steps. And I shoot all 5 pieces of steel on the move. Walking, I'm 2 seconds faster.
Always
2 seconds faster. If I actually do a semi jog, like that medium pace, I'm 3 seconds faster. If I actually haul ass like I can, I'm almost 4 seconds faster than if I stood and shot all 5 pieces of steel. But here is the key. I moved 5 yards. I gained 5 yards. What is the most important target on the stage? The last one. If I'm standing and shooting, I'm not gaining distance to my last target. 5.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of people there's a lot of people we heard, like, oh, I'm going to stand right here and shoot these targets. I'm like, man, you haven't moved anywhere, You
know what happened this weekend that I'm proud of myself because I didn't do it. But I had a couple of guys that I shot. A couple people we shot it with on the stages, and I saw them running a really shitty stage plan. And then I go, "Hey man, when are you up?" And they're like, "Oh, I'm next." I'm like, "Okay, cool. Good luck, bro. Go get it." I wouldn't say a word because I didn't want to mess them up, dude. Because,
mess them up.
And I shouldn't say a shitty stage plan. That's not the right wording, but an inefficient plan because their stage plan worked. They were able to execute the stage plan, but I saw a couple of seconds that could be saved no matter what level they were. And it wasn't even my stage plan. Like I could change a few things that they did in their own stage plan, but it wasn't worth it because they were up so soon. So I was like, man, I'm not going to mess that guy up. I'm not going to mess that girl up. I didn't want to do it. It's just, even though I could help, I don't want to mess them up because at the end of the day, some people can't change their stage plans quickly. Right. And actually one of them was you. You had the same stage plan, 6. But I saw that you weren't like kind of pushing, right? Like on that stage on day 1. And I was like, I can't say shit because I'm going to mess him up. I'm going to mess him up because he's focused on what he's doing.
No, the other one was stage 6 where you took the one target into the port.
Yes. And that's right. You were the first shooter on that stage. I couldn't tell you. I didn't want to tell you. I forgot about that stage because I did. I came to you at the end and I said, "Hey, did you see what I changed?" You go, "Yeah, you dick." And I was like, "Bro, you were the first shooter."
I mean, it didn't cost.
You even told me. Yeah. You even told me. You said, "I wouldn't have listened anyway."
No,
I had it locked in. It would have screwed me up. So and that's
it was a minimal. It was probably a quarter of a second, but
yeah,
I
don't know if it was. I don't know if it was that much, dude. I really don't. I don't even know if it was a time difference, really.
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it was that much of a time difference, but what it did for me is it made me stop. I didn't move and shoot on something I didn't have to move and shoot on.
Yeah.
Right. So the targets on that specific stage were a little bit farther back. They were probably closer to 18 to 20 yards, but they didn't look like it, but they were. And where I stopped, I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to stop a little bit sooner by taking this target to my left as I enter, which I passed anyway, and the gun was pointed that way. I was able to stop a little bit sooner and put myself in that position. So it worked out good. I ended up, I think Tilly beat me on that stage. That was the one stage I wanted to win. Dude, I was kind of mad by that one.
Both of you guys, you and Tilly, it's like, man, I've seen these numbers being put up. I'm like, God bless.
So, okay. So I'll tell you something that I learned from Tilly at the Florida State match. And I never told him this, you know, I mean, we're not friends or anything. I just know him for acquaintances. So, I mean, he's definitely a guy I think I would hang out with, but
He's
I
really
talked to
awesome.
him.
Nice guy.
I watched him at the Florida State match, and I remember listening to him shoot, and I started comparing scores at the end of that match. And I was like, you know what? The difference is with him that I wasn't doing was he always keeps the pace. I don't think there is a slow Chris Tilley, right? And I found out that that's the key to especially open. You would be better off dropping a few points here and there. Obviously, you don't want to, but but be fast. If you don't be fast, if you're not staying fast, you're done. You're not going to win that division.
It's hard to because then you outran, and I'm sure you and Chris both outran some deltas and mics and stuff, but when you say that to someone, they're just going to think, I'm going to haul ass and I'm going to outrun, you know.
I mean, there's different levels, dude. I mean, yeah, listen, a lot of this stuff that I say is different. There's different levels to it. Yeah. Oh, you know what, man? I'm really glad you said that. I know you probably got to get off here soon, but I got to bring this up because it was something that a couple of the GMs, we were sitting there talking and shooting the shit, walking stages. And he looks at me and he goes, so man, when you coach people, do you like have different levels of coaching? Would you recommend your stage plan to everyone? I said, yes. And he goes, really? I go, why not? Why can't someone do what I do? It's just not going to be as fast. It's still more efficient. Yeah. It's still the most efficient plan in my eyes. You're just not going to do it fast, right? You're not going to be as fast as me, but it's still the most efficient plan that I can find because it's constant flowing movement, even if you don't move at my speed. Yeah. The problem is, and this is what I see a lot, and I don't know what other coaches do, but I know how I coach. If you shoot like a C-class shooter, if someone teaches you to shoot like a C-class shooter, you will always be a C-class shooter. Always. Yeah. The only way to shoot like a GM or to be a GM is to shoot like one. You have to eventually get to a point where it doesn't matter what your classification is. You're going to go with the best stage plan. You're going to go with the best hits. You're going to do everything you can to be a better shooter. I mean, if I would have
shooting on the move, like you can shoot on the move. Someone that's a D class maybe can't, but they can run the same plan and not move and then work on movement, you know, at another point, you know.
Bro, if I would have taken advice from some of these people, I would have never made it to here. I would have never been a GM. Yeah. I've had people tell me constantly, dude, you got to slow down. I'll never forget. I remember one of the guys that ran that match came to me one day and goes, you going to get some hits today? Are you going to slow down and get hits? I go, I'm not going to slow down, but I'll get some hits. Like I'll get my hits. It was almost like, I'm going to show you, you know? No. And I hear it all the time. And I mean, we shot with a guy named Jeff this weekend and he's great. I like him a lot. Really great guy. Nice. I talked to him at the end of the match, man. And I kind of gave some unsolicited advice and I don't usually do that, but if I really like you and I see that there's a lot of potential there, I'll give some advice sometimes. And I was really simple, dude. It was the simplest advice you could ever give somebody. No, move quicker. Not even. I looked at him and I said, you've got to shoot faster. And he just looked at me like, yeah. And I was like, no, seriously, like you are waiting for the gun to be perfect. And you can't, like, you just can't. If you're shooting a red dot, you've got to learn that as soon as red hits the A, it's pull trigger, right? You can't look at it and wait for it to settle to be perfect. Now, if it's a no shoot, totally different scenario, right? But 32 rounds of stage of open paper and you're going pop, 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 you're going to limit yourself. You're shooting like your classification, right? Man, listen, I can usually hear your classification, right? I can hear your classification. Sometimes, not always, obviously, but you can hear people's classification. I can hear that the gun never stops, right? I can hear that pop, pop compared to pop, 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 pop. You know what I'm saying? It's
and then you have that, and then you have Max Leo Grandis is in another level. Remember, we could tell like, oh, he's shooting on the next bay.
Yeah. So sometimes, man, you can't even tell that he even shot two. right? Like because he's bump firing to hell. I mean, listen, that's a skill,
I don't
dude.
know.
I'm not a big fan of that. I've tried it. I've been able to do it here and there, but you know,
I don't
that's
know
a
what he's
skill
doing,
set.
but he's awesome.
Well, it's a skill set, bro. And listen, he puts in the work, man. If anybody thinks that guy is sitting on his ass and not practicing,
No, he's awesome.
you know, maybe before nationals, maybe he sits around all day and just does nothing until it's time for nationals. I doubt it. I mean, he's good. They're all good. Max Michel's good. These guys are amazing. And you know, you're trying to shoot against professional shooters. That's hard. It's hard.
There was a lot of guys that shot this match, man. I mean, they were good. A lot of good people that shot.
I didn't even know that. Honestly, I don't look. I don't look. Oh, I guess I'll say that real quick. I almost switched to carry optics for this match.
How about you never would have shot this match if I wouldn't have called you and said, hey, you need to shoot this match?
Maybe. I will never. I'm going to deny. No, so you know what? I actually commented about that in my last post about the match. It was I needed this match, dude. I needed this match because I really lost. I don't want to say I lost motivation, but I wasn't super excited about getting back in training and going to matches because by now I've already shot, you know, two big matches, you know, normally the end of the year, everything was crammed together. So it was just exhausting to travel as much as I was doing. And it was like, all right, man, like I need a break. Yeah. And then I took that break for the first time ever. And I was just like, do I want to go train? Like, that's a lot of work to go, you know, it's like, now I got to go out to the range and set all this shit up and go practice. And I'll tell you, man, I am super fired up now after this match. Like, I'm ready to get my ass back on the range and train hard and really work and put in the work and as many rounds as I can afford to put down range. And the other thing is man, the best decision I made, obviously it worked out. The best decision I made was to not jump off of that open gun, stay on it, put the commitment time in it. Don't go back to what you're used to and enjoy and really shoot the gun, man. I'm listen. I like it. I'm shooting a Franken gun. I know it's not the best gun. I know there's other guns out there that have better recoil control or better this or better that, but I'm working it. I'm doing the best I can, bro. You know, like doing the best I can with it. And that's it. And I'm trying not to shoot open like an open shooter. I'm trying to shoot it like a carry optic shooter. I'm hunting A's. I'm charging for those A zones, but fast. You know, I'm trying to shoot it exactly the same, but just, and I'm telling you, man, it's gotten better, bro. I mean, I'm getting a lot more comfortable with it. So I'm excited, man. I'm glad I didn't quit. I'm glad I shouldn't say I was going to quit because I wasn't, but I started.
You're glad I talked you into coming to the Florida Open.
Yeah. Well, I mean, dude, listen, it's not just that. It's the fact that I decided that I truly committed to open this year until it's Carry Optics Nationals, right? I'm 100% committed to open this year until the gun breaks. When the gun breaks, Carry Optics is it, you know, and that's it. I don't have the money to go buy another gun. I'm just not going to. People are like, man, you need to buy this and you need to buy that. I'm like, bro, I have a kid who's 14 years old, is getting ready to go and get a car. I'm going to be buying a car soon. And I'm not buying a gun that costs as much as a car. Yeah. Like I just, it's not even a financial, thing. It's an intelligence thing for me. Man. I don't have the money to do that and get the car. You know, it's like, I'm not wasting. I want the gun. Of course, I would love a nice, shiny, new one that's designed and built for me, but I'm like, I can't afford it when it comes to that. Right. It's not going to happen, bro. I'm not going to put that money into that when I have, you know, kids I got 3 of them. So I'll eventually have 3 cars coming down the line now. So it's one of those things, man. Like, I'm open for sponsorship,
yeah, right.
You know, but who doesn't say that? You know what I mean? Who doesn't say that at this point? It's hilarious, but man, I'm telling you, I'm enjoying the open division. I was super excited that a lot of the bigger names shot that match because I haven't shot against anybody. You know, I shot Carry Optics, but the last 2 or 3 nationals, man, I've just sucked. 24th, 23rd. I'm not happy with those finishes. So it's something that this year nationals was a big breakthrough for me, bro. I mean, it really was. I learned a lot. I've changed a lot of my mindset, how I shoot. I'm giving myself a little bit more time than I used to when it comes to shooting. I'm no longer in a rush to just rip 2. you know?
This was just a fun and it was fun to shoot at Universal again. I like that place, you know.
Yeah. I hope he,
I
I
hope it
hope he
takes off there,
stays with
man.
this match. I hope this match. I hope he has a little bit different style next year. I'm good with the
Sure,
open
but
targets.
this was yeah,
Yeah, it is. I'm
it
good
was
with
good.
anything. I'm good with
It's
anything.
a good
But
change,
again,
man.
I hope that it doesn't become an IPSC match and it stays a USPSA match.
I
It's
don't
always
think
been a great
so.
match to me.
Yeah.
So keep the IPSC targets. I don't care about that. That doesn't bother me. I mean, if that
No,
tradition's
good.
whatever, I'm good with it. But just don't give me. I don't want an IPSC style match. I probably won't go back if it's an IPSC style match. It's not my thing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it is, but I'd rather just shoot a nationals and do it instead of, IPSC matches.
Yeah, man.
So, all right, brother, you got anything? Tell everybody
That's it.
you got anything going on. Oh, wait, where's your next match?
Area 6.
Man, you only going to Area 6. It'd be nice if somebody would invite
That's
you to all
April.
these other matches, you bastard.
Yeah, I can't make every one
You
of them.
suck, man.
I-
You need to be a bum like me, bro, and don't just quit your job like I do. And
Yeah. Yeah.
you need a sugar mama or sugar daddy, whatever you're into. I don't know.
I think New Mexico is going to be September. I'm looking like I'm going to that with Da
Yeah.
Vinci, and then nationals.
Yeah, I'm going to
whatever's in the summer. You know, there's maybe some level 2s like the Doc Welt or any other level 2 stuff that's going to happen around the state.
Yeah.
But,
I've got Alabama. I have Area 6, South Carolina Sectional, Mississippi Classic. I feel like I'm missing something else in there. Area 4, Nationals, Optics Nationals, PC. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that. That's a dirty word. Open Nationals. That's the plan. So
I think I would like to shoot the Atomic Blast in Tennessee, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
I will probably only shoot that match if there's a gap between all these other matches. Some of these matches, and I'm shooting the Texas State Open. I forgot about that. I'm putting a class on for that one, and then shooting the Sunday with my class. So we'll walking stages together and all that.
When is that?
That is in the very end of April. I knew you were going to ask me when I didn't have it on here. So it's in April. Nope, just kidding. Totally wrong. It's going to be it's after Area 6. It's the April 21st through the 23rd. So I'm coming in on Thursday. We're practicing the 22nd. We're practicing the 22nd, and then the 23rd, which is a Saturday, is when the match is. Then the very next weekend in April or May is the South Carolina Sectional. Then the May 7th and 8th is the South Carolina class that I have.
Jeez.
Then the May 13th and 15th, I have the Mississippi Classic. All that month. Then in June,
are you driving to the Mississippi Classic? Are you driving to that?
Bro, if these assholes will let me not have a mask on in an airplane, I'd fly to this. But if they do, I'm driving, man. I'm not wearing a damn mask. It's not happening. I mean, I know everybody looks at me like I'm crazy, but
maybe I'll have to look and see about Mississippi in May. Well, I don't know.
So in March, the Alabama sectional is my very first match. So that's on the 11th. The 11th and 12th is when I'll be there, but I'm shooting on the 12th. I think it's a Saturday match, but I'll be there Friday to walk stages, obviously, because I have a 9-hour, 10-hour drive to get there. Area 6 is April 9th and 10th, 9th, 10th, and 11th, travel wise or whatever. So I'll be there for that. Texas class is right after that, South Carolina, and then
do we have a room for Area 6 set up yet?
No, actually, I will talk to you about that tomorrow because I know you got to get off here soon. But I just got a message from a couple guys that we definitely would love to stay with, so we're going to talk to them about getting a house. He just messaged me about an Area 6 place, so we got to get on the Airbnb for sure. I have a class in Illinois in June. It's on the 11th and 12th. Super excited about that class because that'll be the first time I've ever been. I've actually trained that far north, or done classes. So that's pretty cool, man. I'm excited about that. And then somewhere in September, Area 4 happens, and I think it's September 24th. I got to look and see. I don't even remember what the Nationals is for Optics, but I'm definitely I'm doing that match for sure. I have a little redemption on that match. I'd like to get a little payback for him. Man, honestly, I would trade it all to go to nationals. You know, I would trade every one of those matches to go to nationals. It's the most important match of the year for me. So
yeah,
I want to focus really heavily on that this year and prepare for those style of a match. I really do. So that's the goal, man. At least I mean, it sounds like it's going to be a great year. I'm excited. I'm slamming as much as I can. I've been doing a ton of private lessons lately. Ton of private lessons. And that's been awesome because, you know, those one-on-one classes, man, I can pick it apart and really fix things. You know what I mean? Sometimes when you do big classes, you can fix a lot of stuff.
Of course, you get one-on-one, you know,
that one-on-one, bro. And well, I mean, I guess the way I set up my class, I do a ton of one-on-one during my class because I break it in half. I do five people.
Like when Conrad, the RO, was talking to me, I was like, dude, I told him, I go, man, you put in a ton of effort, dude. You put in a ton of friggin' effort into the class.
I would say the worst part of the class is that I feel like I got hit by a truck when it's all over because I usually they're usually 10-hour days, bro. And that's rough. Like as a coach, that's rough, but
good for the student. And
that's the thing, man. I'm like, I want you to get your money's worth, baby. Like I talk all the time during the class, but we shoot.
There's a ton of shooting. Yeah.
All the time. Like the only time I'm talking is when people are reloading or I have to stop and fix something. Right. Yeah. Other than that, we're shooting the entire class. Like I can't emphasize how important it is to when you go to a class that you shoot a lot because when you have an instructor in front of you, that's when you need to be shooting, not talking, right? Shooting is what you're there for. It's just important, right? Now, there obviously is some things that you have to talk. You have to talk or you don't have the knowledge. But if you're not getting a lot of bullets downrange or you're not having that gun in your hand, even if you're dry firing those drills, you got to put that time in, man. Like that time in front of that instructor is really important because then that instructor can break you down, fix things, show you some things that you need to be worked on. Because most people that come to classes, including me, when I went to classes, I've gone to a class, you got to go in there and think that you don't know it all, right? Like that was probably the best thing about the class that I had with JJ, man, is I went in there as a C-class shooter on purpose. Like I didn't even go in as a GM. I was a GM, obviously, but I went in there with just an open mind. I threw out everything I knew and pretended I didn't know anything. Right. And I wanted all of his knowledge and all of the things that he has 25 years of experience. That's what I was looking for. And I got a lot of it. It was awesome, man. It was a great class. So I highly recommend if you have the opportunity to check out his class. It's hard to get into some of those. But you know, again, I think a lot like him. I think a lot of the top guys do. We have some differences in how we shoot and how we think, but that's kind of part of it, man. It's, you know, it's a way, not the way, you know, but all right, guys, I guess this is it. We're going to wrap it up. Craig's all set. I'm all set. If you haven't had a chance to check out the TCSA Insider Circle, go ahead and do that. It's on tcsacoaching.com. Again, tcsacoaching.com. That is where I have a forum where I have tons and tons of information on how to become a better shooter. I go into so much more detail on some of the things that I talked about here. Not only that, but I give you 2 weeks free. That's how much I trust my program and how I know you'll get better. As soon as you join that program, within 2 weeks, you're going to learn something. I guarantee it. All right, guys, I'll see you on the range.